Well, this is Jim the Keys Bartender. If you're not familiar with the podcast, it's a podcast, well, mainly audio, and I just started doing video about a year ago, and I only have a couple of videos out. But this update is for the people that want to actually see what I look like after my incident. Back this March 9th, I'm going to give a detail ad infinitum. I'm going to try to give as much detail as possible about this. But on the day of March 9th, I had, uh, it was a Thursday, and I work part time. To give you a little background story, I work part time at a hospital as a fitness instructor teaching a spin class. And one of our fellow instructors was moving, so we were doing a farewell class. And it was going to be all the spin instructors and the regular students that went to it. And on Thursday wasn't my regular day. Now, leading up to this story, to give you a little backstory, uh, about a month and a half before my father had passed away, so the weekend previously, we had the memorial service for my father up in Delaware, and it had been a busy week. I've had, I'm trying to remember exactly. I had very little sleep, and there was a lot of running around. And since the memorial service, there was 5 days, I didn't sleep that much at all, and I wasn't feeling too well. So I go to the spin class, and during the spin class, uh, on the way there is a lot of traffic. I barely get there 5 minutes before, and I'm an instructor, and I'm a little embarrassed, but yeah, I was running late, but everyone was running late because there was traffic. There was an accident. And the main instructor was missing, the one that was teaching the class that day. So we waited around 10, 15 minutes, and I went to the manager of our health facility, which happens to be at a hospital, to give you a regional hospital here in Tavernier, Florida, which is south of Key Largo. And I asked, can I start the class? So what I did is I started instructing the class for about a half hour, and finally the instructor got there, and she decided to do the whole class. So there I am doing the class, and uh, working out pretty hard, and I'm drinking a lot of water. I've had about five cups of coffee, and we were in a particular arduous climb, and I'd taken a sip of energy water, one of those Mios, and I was in the climb, and it's called a climbing position in 3, and we're pushing real hard. And right at that time, this is where I find my heart went into a deadly arrhythmia, and I experienced cardiac arrest. And what I did is I slumped on the bike, and my feet were clipped in. This is what experienced spin class attendees were surprised at. My feet were clipped in, and I passed out on the bike, and then I slid off the bike and unclipped as I did and fell on my side. Now, fortunately, one of the students or the participants in the spin class was a nurse, and she was right next to me, a friend of mine, Tracy, and she responded first. She came down and they called what they call a code blue, and that would instruct anybody who was on the cardiac response team, which is we're in a wellness center, but there's still a lot of nurses and doctors there. So they came and responded and brought an AED, an automatic electronic defibrillator, or I think that's what the initials stand for. And they started the procedures you do for someone that's not breathing. And at the time, I wasn't breathing. I had no heartbeat. And they hooked me up to an AED, and it wasn't instructing to give me a shock, because you have to have a detectable heartbeat in order to administer it. That's what the AED is. Interrupts the irregular heartbeat and introduces hopefully a pattern of regular. So here I am. I don't know anything that would happen to me after. And let me, I would pause this. Let me end stream. Shit. Hi, hon. Like, I was live streaming. What's up? What's up? What's up? Tell me. I'm going to be curious now. Why would I know if we had it? Okay, you got to come home. Come home to it. Okay, come home. Okay, I love you. I'm going to have an account. Why would I know if we had an account? Okay, here I'm back. Now, if I remember correctly, what I was saying there is I don't remember any of this from the time that I passed out till about 20, 30 minutes after I made it to the emergency room, which was a building right next to the wellness center where uh, in the hospital that I work. And it's great hospital, great hospital. So I have all these people responding. The heartbeat, I can't give any details because I wasn't given any. And I did have an opportunity, an option. I think I have an option to look at the security tapes because all of it's on security tapes, and I'm sure they saved it. I mean, legally they would unless they wiped it. That'd be kind of crazy. But the um, a lot of the first responders, Kathleen was one of them, a nurse in our occupational health uh, department. She said, and her coworker Brittany said, it's not a good idea to watch yourself going through cardiac arrest because a lot of people experience sort of a PTSD. So here I am. They said I was out for 7.5 minutes of performing CPR. Blah, 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 blah. I know I'm cutting it short because I don't know anything about it. And eventually they detect a heartbeat and they hit me with an AED, the defibrillator, and that brought me back. Yes. So yeah, technically, I mean, I didn't have all the things around me. I wasn't breathing and my heart wasn't beating. So I would, I wasn't brain dead, but I was dead. If I was brain dead, they wouldn't come back. And so I guess there was enough oxygen in there. I always say, people say to me afterwards, he says, "Oh, that's a long time to not have a heartbeat and stuff like that. Normally that would cause some brain damage." And I was thinking, I said, well, I don't think I have any brain damage, at least none that I would know, but would I know if I had brain damage? So, and you might be thinking, you sound like, oh, this guy sounds like he has brain damage. Well, I don't. I don't have brain damage. So they were doing. Well, I'm taking. I'm of the opinion that I don't have brain damage. That's up to other people to say that. So here I go, and I'm going to tell you a little about what happened. But when I wake up, I'm in the emergency room and I see my wife and my stepdaughter, and they're crying, and I'm like, "What happened? What happened?" And they told me what happened, and I'm being told about the stuff. It was about a half hour into the emergency room, and and they said I was responding for about 40 minutes to questions and things like that, but I do not remember any of it. I know it would make a more interesting story if I told you about light and seeing another world and things like that, but I did not. And the way I explained to people is I used to drink a lot and I would black out, and I used to do stuff all the time. And I have no recollection of that. So I'm dealing with this. I'm coming to the thing, and I'm coming to the acceptance that I had a cardiac incident, and I was out for a while. And it seemed like everyone was upset, but I still don't know. I'm processing it. I still don't know what happened, and I don't fully appreciate that I wasn't around for about 7.5 minutes. And they tell me, say, Jim, we got to do. We're going to check you out for give you an MRI. You got to see if you have a concussion because you fell off the bike. We're going to see if you hit your head and things like that. And then they said you're gonna be life flighted up to uh, Baptist, Maine, the big hospital in Miami. Uh, they're going to be taking you by helicopter up there. And I did have I remember that. I was kind of excited. I figured, well, at least I'm getting a helicopter ride, and I get a view. I'm on in a stretcher. I wasn't sitting up, able to look right. And at this time, I'm feeling like real funky. I'm on some, I guess maybe some pain meds and things like that. My chest is killing me from the CPR. I'm glad they did it. I'm enthusiastic, and everyone's telling me how lucky I am, and I'm talking to them, and they take me up there and to Miami, and they put me through a lot of tests, and they put a defibrillator in my chest here, and so that was on a Thursday. They put it on a Friday, and they put the defibrillator in on a Friday, and they released me on a Saturday. Yeah, they do a lot of tests, and what I'm being told when I'm in the hospital, I'm still, the first couple of days, I did a podcast the same day that I arrived at the hospital when he put me in and had kept me under observation for a night and then slotted me for the defibrillator. And I did a podcast then. Oh, not, I did a podcast and I did a Facebook live stream. So the doctor came in and told me that they weren't sure what happened, blah, 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 blah. I went through this, but they said you had COVID and a lung infection. And so I had the lung infection was separate from the COVID, and they didn't say it was attributed to that. And eventually, I think the day of, if I remember correctly, the day of the placement of the defibrillator in it, the cardiologist came in and said, what we think would happen is some plaque broke off and blocked an artery. And I thought on the day of, they said I had a 50% blockage. The worst blockage I had was a 50% blockage. So here I am. They give me instructions when I leave on Saturday. I know I met some wonderful people, and as as good. I mean, I guess considering everything that's going on, it went rather smoothly. And on Saturday, I'm returning, and I have uh, a drain put in. I don't know if I have a drain put in. That's for my other one. I have. I'm just taking it easy coming in. I'm trying to. Wow. I don't really remember a ton of that coming back, but they put me on restrictions. Said it'd be 4 to 6 weeks before I could return to work. And you know what? That day, I didn't see myself. Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks sounded right. I knew it was going to be rough because I'm a bartender, so financially I would take a hit, and then also I'm used to being active, and that was going to drive me up the wall. So I started my recovery, putting on a lot of medication. I had my medication set up. We picked up the medication, brought it here, and I just started laying about the house. It was about 2 weeks, maybe longer, before I got to see my cardiologist again. When by the time I see my cardiologist again, I had no additional tests. I went to see, I think I might have seen the device cardiologist, the one that put they were just testing to see if the defibrillator was working and everything was in place. They gave me restrictions about lifting my arm because they're worried about the placement of the wires in there. So I go to see the cardiologist. The cardiologist kind of reiterates what he does say, but except this time he says you have 100% blockage in one of your arteries. And I go, really? 100% blockage? So, and that's what I got for the next 5.5 months. I hear about this blockage and that they're going to have to do something about it. And I'm like, why don't you do it right away? And it turns out that the thing that they were telling me is that the blockage may have not contributed it. And the last appointment I had with the doctor prior to, they scheduled me for an angioplasty to clear the artery, and it's already underneath. Oh God, I should remember the name of it. You figure I'd learn the terminology for all the parts of the heart and stuff like that, but I guess I neglected to do that. So they slot me for that, and while I'm waiting for the uh, procedure, I keep on getting this feedback from people saying, medical people and people at the hospital, people at the place I work that saw me on the day of, and then the people at the cardiologist's office, they're saying you're a very lucky person, you're a very lucky person. So I asked them why they why they pointedly said that. I'm very lucky, very lucky, very lucky. And the EMT said, um, people that knew the EMT said the what I had, you're very, very rarely they are able to bring them back. And a lot of other people said because of the amount of time you were out, you were fortunate not to have a significant damage, brain damage, cardiac damage, and all that. So, and that's when they told me not to um, look at the security tape. And so here I am slotted for this stent, and they're putting this stent in. I don't know a lot about it. I didn't even know I was going to get a stent. I just heard it's going to get a blockage, and I don't know enough about cardiac care that when they clear a blockage, they put in a stent. Yeah, I guess they just made the assumption that I knew. So yeah, there's a lot. I pretend to know a lot of shit, right? But I didn't know that. So I um, go on the day that was about a little, almost 3 weeks ago tomorrow. I go in and they get me all set up, and they're going to tell me it's going to be an outpatient procedure most likely, but there's a small chance I could be overnight. And I I get to the pre-op, and in pre-op, the Abby's with me, and Abby wasn't with me except for maybe one of the cardiologist appointment, and she said, "Are you telling me everything?" She was asking me, "Are you telling me everything that happened?" Blah 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 blah. And I said, "Yeah, they told me everything." They said, I they made it. The cardiologist made it sound like it was an option right before that I get it done, and I said, he said, "It won't make you live any." His exact words were, "It won't make you live any longer." And I said, "Really?" Okay. And so I I, I just went ahead with it because we had the ball rolling. We were under the guise of 4 appointments. I was going to get it done. I said, might as well go and get it done. So I we go in the pre-op. The doctor comes in. He starts telling me things I never heard before. First of all, he said it was a very old blockage, and I didn't know what that mean, why an old or new blockage would mean. But he meant this. What he meant to say is that there's a lot of buildup. It was a long clog in there, and it could take up to 3 procedures. And then I went, what? 3 procedures? And he says, yeah, this one, and then you'd have to come 2 other times. And I'm like, I didn't know about that, and I didn't know about the old blockage. And that Abby, she, to her credit, I said to her, I didn't hear that, and she believed me on that. I didn't hear that before, and he may have said it. I don't think they did. And I'm not holding the doctor. Uh, uh, I'm not saying he's wrong for saying that. I'm just saying maybe he had additional information at the time, this time, and he told me. So here I'm going. I said, well, I'm not going to worry about this. I'm going to the procedure and stuff like that. They're going to give me a local. I'm going to be awake. They're going through my wrist right here. Still a little, no, there's no mark left in it. It's all healed up. They went through the arteries in my arm up into the heart, and I was awake the whole time. He put me under locals, and there's a big screen to the left side of me, and I'm able to see the. Uh, I don't know what kind of image it is, if it's an ultrasound or an X-ray, but there I see the wires going in, see where they're going and stuff like that. And then eventually I hear the doctor say, grab, the stents or some certain size stents. And I knew at that point Well, he could have said, "Hey, we're through it, and we're ready to put the stents in." He could have said that, but he didn't say. He said, "We're going to stents." And when I heard he was getting the stents, I knew they got through because no reason to put the stents if it wasn't cleared, right? So I got both the stents done, and I went to the recovery room and got out that night, and here I am. It was 3 weeks ago. I had about 5 days. They gave me because they're worried about the veins, the arteries that I went through, so to be careful with weights and working out. And I started slowly coming back on the fifth day, sixth day. I'm teaching a class. I think it's sixth day. That the next, yeah. I think I missed. No, it was 8 days after the thing. I'm teaching a class again, and I'm back to my workout routine, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty good. I noticed a little uptick in my cardio capability. I mean, it takes me a little more effort to bring my heart rate up to a place that I'd like to work out at in the 120 beats per second, which I guess that would be probably be explained by the increased blood flow into that cleared artery. I've been watching what I eat, but I went for the follow up this past week, follow up x-ray. I wanted to find out about how long I would be on his medication. And then I was talking to one of my physician's assistant. And he mentioned two of them we're going to review in a year, but the other two, you're going to be the rest, that's the rest of your life. And I said, oh, there's no, you know, it was one of them was the cholesterol medication. So I guess that was, I mean, I spent years doing it. They said it could be genetic or something like that, but we'll see. We'll see on that. But I'm going to do what they're going to tell me. I'm not going to be. I did explain to the. It wasn't my doctor doing the follow up. It was a physician's assistant. I did explain. I said, listen, I don't want to wind up in here for doing something stupid. So what I want to follow your thing. I want to make as healthy and responsible recovery as possible. So that's it. I don't have any appointments for, I guess, another 3 months, and to do a follow up and all that stuff and to see how I'm doing. And that's it. And I'd like to thank you. I don't have any music for this because it's not a podcast thing. It was just a quick update. Talk to you later. I don't know if anybody sees it because this was a live stream. Not yet. This was a live stream, and I just almost ended it right then because I really don't pay attention to what I'm doing, right? I am a babe in the woods when it comes to video. Well, thank you very much. I will be back at another time. I'll see if I can figure this stuff out. Bye. And